Welcome to Forever Exiled. I'm Justin, aka Tags.
And I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
Episode 196 of Forever Exiled. Welcome, Ty. Yeah, get that drinking.
Love those round numbers.
Which it is. It's a lot of curves.
Well, not ones, but nothing you can do about that for 100 episodes. But
or 4 more
the
episodes.
9 and 6, nice and curvy, nice and round.
2's pretty curvy, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I can't wait till we hit 200. Mm-hmm. Just around the river bend.
It's coming. Big shout out to our patrons and other people who support the podcast. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Patreon gets you access to After Dark. It's our podcast after the podcast. More stuff and things and cards and stickers and good stuff and things. Check it out.
Check it out. I'm excited.
What? Wait, what? For? Which part?
After Dark.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
After Dark. Are you going to go clothed this time? Because last time Tyler surprised me.
I will be clothed this time. I will be clothed this time.
A little bit boring, but anyway, how's your week?
Top and bottom.
How's your week?
I had a good week, man. I had a good week. My I guess it's just how it goes. Like, we don't have a pool or anything at our place, and so my kids just never learned how to swim. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, we'd send them to swimming lessons all the time, but they tried their best and they did fantastic. But they were like 4.
Then you hit COVID,
5, and then the only time that we would go swimming is whenever we go to the rec center, which wasn't often, or to their grandparents' place. They live in
like an area that has a pool or whatever.
A center that has a pool. Yeah, I was going to say retirement home, but if they heard that, they would murder me. Because it's kind of not, but kind of is, but it's kind of not.
Right.
But if they were around me, I'd probably say that it is.
Assisted living.
Which it totally isn't. Oh, but that would be hilarious. I'm going to start calling it that from now on, just to bug them. One of the 3 of my kids' grandparents does not like the prospect that they're close to 70.
Oh,
it took a long time just to get used to the term grandma or grandpa type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the fact that that's super exciting, but just the realization of age and stage, I guess you could say. So,
sure.
Not a criticism, but it was always entertaining to see the conflict and disdain of the age in that person when you commented on whatever it is that sure. Just
anything
basically
that was
dictates
age-related.
that age, right? So it's always been, so yes, definitely. What's it called now?
Assisted living.
Assisted living. So
independent living. You could call it. Those are the ones that are less assisted.
Yeah, you're doing really well with your independent living. Way to go.
It's true.
You've been doing a really good job. Mm-hmm. So anyway, my kids, we wanted the kids to swim, of course, but then, like you said, COVID hits. And for 2 years, in our area anyway, there were tons of restrictions and all that kind of stuff. Since then, we want to get them back into swimming lessons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Getting back into them now is really tough still.
Well, yeah, they lost. I mean, they have like half the lifeguards that they used to, but it's like the hottest ticket in town. Mm-hmm. Now, when you go to the rec center, it's like, okay, when's the next set of swimming lessons? They're like, okay, well, it's all booked for the next 3 months, but here's the next date. We're showing what's available, right? And so we're talking like 3 months away, right? So we're talking, what is it? Well, I guess the next set of dates is going to be starting for September. Yeah, so they're like, well, I'm just going to make up some dates, but they're like, okay, so September 4th is when we're going to display and show everybody. And then starting September 7th, you can start booking. Yeah. And it's legit. The last 2 sessions, so for the last 3-month sessions, I am showing up like within 15 minutes of that start time, and I got nothing.
You're doing it online, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You betcha. I can't. It's the hottest ticket in town. It's like Elton John was coming to perform.
Yeah. Do you know what a lot of people are doing?
For $50. It's crazy.
In our area is a lot of the lifeguards that we're training are doing it privately now, and they'll come to your house if you have a pool or if you provide a pool, and they'll do private training. And the private training is actually almost as affordable as doing swimming lessons, but you have to have a location for them to
it's so stupid. Mm-hmm. Half of the lessons are watching how well other kids do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your kids
it's like
just
going to public
waiting.
School. Mm-hmm. You just there's a benefit to being around people. So anyway, I vowed this. It's an investment, 100% investment for me, because it's a must. Like, I don't care what my kids are interested in, what they're doing, but they have to know how to swim. Mm-hmm. I don't care if they like it. I don't care if they cry. I don't care if I have to. If they lose an arm on the way to the swimming pool, They're going to learn how to swim. So
Yeah.
anyway, I told myself by the end of the summer, I mean, not like strict, but it should be easy enough for them to learn by the end of the summer to learn how to swim. So we're going to go to the rec center once or twice a week.
Nice.
And do that. Well, it's $15 every time we show up. So it's definitely not money that, you know, like we hum and haw about if we're going to keep Netflix and Prime, which is the same price point, and that's per month as opposed to once or twice a week. So, but we still don't quite meet that threshold of getting like a monthly pass or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's been fun. We did that this week, and so that was a lot of fun. We tried to keep it as fun as possible because my wife and I are like gung ho.
You're going to the one close
like
to
we
us?
gotta, yeah,
Nice.
And so I mean, it's all great. We did our best to make sure that the kids had fun, and they did. My daughter could be glacier water, and my daughter would, just because she's in the water, be like, "No, I'm okay," and she could stay there for 8 hours.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What else? I forgot the segue. There was a sweet segue, but you know, Marvel Secret
Tell you
Invasion
what
with
I
Nick
like
Fury. Secret Invasion sucks.
Oh.
It's like the worst writing ever.
Oh, we saw a trailer for it when we were looking for a show, and that we saw that, but we haven't watched it.
The premise from the comics is amazing, but Secret Invasion from Marvel, how they wrote it for TV, it's the worst writing ever.
Why?
It's like they think their audiences keep getting dumber and dumber and dumber, and it's just they like push, and it's gonna be hard to describe if you haven't seen the episodes, but they like push a theme to the point where even if you are one of those people that needs things explained to you 100 times within 15 minutes to grasp the concept of a show, even that person would get annoyed.
Like, I get it.
It is so bad. And there's no segue from previous content to this one that matches what they're trying to shove. It's like, okay, so the last time we saw Nick Fury was here. This is the teaser that we had from whatever movie it would have been. Yeah, post-credit scene. And now it's like, oh crap, we've completely changed everything we wanted to do about Nick Fury and his personality and his everything about his character. So now we're going to use the first 3 episodes, maybe more. There's only 3 episodes out by the time of recording this, and just shove this at you incessantly so that you just believe this instead of everything else that you've seen.
Is there another Marvel one that
ridiculous.
just came out too? I feel like when we were looking on Disney Plus, there were 2 Marvel things that we hadn't seen yet, and they were shows, but they weren't all the way out yet. Like they weren't fully released yet, so we didn't start them. I thought there was that one, and I thought there was another one.
Secret Invasion is coming out weekly.
Yeah, what
so
was
there's
before
3 episodes
Secret
for
Invasion?
That. Quantum Mania.
But
that's
saw
in
that.
theater.
There's some other TV show. There's some other like series based.
Oh no, TV show they haven't had a TV show in a long time.
There was something else series based that we hadn't seen yet. But
yeah. But I've been catching up just like on date night with my wife and whatever. Have you seen the Extraction movies?
No, I know there's a second one out now, right?
There is.
Yeah,
and
we never watched the first one.
I'm not one for just action movies. Like any story has to have a legit story. You've heard my opinions on John Wick. It's neat for a tiny bit, but only the first movie was good in terms of story, and then everything else
decent,
just stupid.
Yeah. 4 was ridiculous.
True. I always thought it was 1. I got them all blended together in my head. Like number 2 was when the end of number 2, I was like, oh, what a waste of time. You've got to be kidding me. But Extraction blew my mind. And I wasn't ever going to watch them because they were just in my mind how they were advertised. And for some reason, Netflix is like the worst at advertising. So many shows that I end up loving, I watch 5 years later from Netflix because their trailers showed nothing that interested me the first time around.
Sure.
So anyway, Extraction didn't interest me at all. Another Chris Hemsworth movie where he's not Thor. It's another one of those action ones. Blah, 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 blah. Who cares? I'm looking through a Google article, not a Google article, but an article that came through my news feed about the longest scenes in movie history. Like longest cuts.
Yeah.
And both Extractions were on there. And I'm like, really? Like we're talking top 10 here. We're going back to the 40s and 50s and one from like way back when. And both Extractions are on there. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Now, this is just movies. It wasn't TV shows. Otherwise, I would have been excited for maybe something from Midnight Mass because that director really liked to have a really long cuts. But this amazed me. Like it amazed me to the point like you're going through explosions. You're going through car crashes. You're going through gunfights. You're going from multiple buildings with one camera. that never cuts. It's going in and out of this vehicle while it's moving to another vehicle, inside the vehicle, and then into another vehicle. And then they're going up into like different stories of buildings as different combat is happening. But for no cuts, for like, we're talking a 20-minute scene without a cut. It blew my mind. So as soon as I finished that one, I'm like, yep. My wife went to bed. It was like 12 o'clock. I'm like, I don't care. I'm watching the next one. And so I got to bed at like 2 o'clock that morning because I had to see the second one. Yeah, I really did. The stories were fine, good. They weren't bad. You're not disappointed with the story. And at some point you're like, oh, Chris. But it was those long scenes that just made me a little bit, you know?
There was a war movie recently, and the director, his entire goal was to shoot it continuous. It's insane. I can't remember what it's called, 19 something, but it's
1922.
Yeah, so I don't remember exactly what the name of it is, but it's got like one of the longest, if not the longest, continuous scene. It's pretty crazy.
It was on the list too. They mentioned something along, I forget if it was that one or a different war movie, but it was one of those two war movies where it spurred the idea of the article.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah. Anyway, no, it was fun. So anyway, but this is Tyler speaking, by the way, that was talking about extraction. It's funny because sometimes people, when I'm listening to our podcast,
yeah, we know each other's voice
to an extent, but every now and then there's one like where your tone of voice will change or my tone of voice just for like a sentence, and I'm like,
who said that?
Like, we've been friends for
a long time. 35.
I think it's been 30 years. I think I came to
Grade
BC
5, right?
in, what was that, 92, 93?
Oh my God, I have no idea.
Well, anyway, it's 2023, so.
Grade 5 would be 12?
We finished grade 5 in 95.
No, 10.
So finishing grade 4 was 93.
30 years.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, that's how long we've been friends for. And even sometimes on the podcast, I'm like, wait a second.
That was very clever.
Was I
of me.
rude to him or was he rude to me? Because that was really funny. I hope it was me.
That's awesome.
But I have to like listen back. And so anyway, there was a couple people on Discord that kind of got our stories mixed up this week, unintentionally, you know, like our personal stories, like we just have kind of thing. And I'm like, man, that'd be, you know, from some of people that listen to us often, sometimes our voices could sound quite similar. So anyway, it's Tyler that likes extraction.
Yep.
And don't feel bad if you get our voices mixed up. Unless it's like all about like if someone's a complete jerk, it's Justin.
Definitely
and if you think
Tyler.
somebody's absolutely amazing, it's Tyler.
Justin.
See, now you screwed it all up. Now nobody knows what's what. Anyway, I had a good week. It was normal. Shoved swimming down the kids' throats. It was great.
Nice.
How about you?
That was good. Did you hear that beep? Is that me or you?
Oh yeah, my laundry was on.
Oh, okay. I was like,
and now it's
my house is beeping.
You know, well, you know those LG appliances.
mine's the
They sing
Samsung
like a
that
freaking
sings.
opera to you to get it.
So annoying.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
My week was good. It was, it was fine. It was busy with work. What did we do outside of work? Not much really. We just hung out. We watched, we finished up. So we got into this show called Manifest like a long time ago when it first came out. It's this idea of this,
I'm quite interested in that.
this
I haven't started
airplane that disappears or whatever. So the final season was released just recently, or they released it in two parts, like half the season.
Most recent season or final
season. It's done now.
Ooh, like that it's done.
Yeah. Right. So we finished it this week, and it was, for me, it was a bit of a drag to just be like, I want to move on to something else, because when you release a season in half, I don't keep up. Yeah. It's hard for me to keep up. Like I get disinterested, and then to get back into it takes a bit for me or whatever. So this was definitely, I really, really enjoyed the first probably 2 seasons. I think there's 4 or 5 seasons in total, and it's not a bad show, but by the end I was like, all right, come on. And it had a great, the ending of it was pretty cool. So like it was good in the end, but the last season I was like, all right. And then Christina was getting mad at me because I'd be like laughing at stuff, and I just was a little bit disinterested in the way that it was going in the last season. But then we did start The Witcher, but we're only 2 episodes in. I don't know how many there are, but
5.
Yeah. And then how many will come out in the last part?
Yeah. Probably 5. I mean, it would be weird to put out 5 than 3.
Right. And how long is it till the next part? Do you know?
Oh, less than a month now. It's the end. I think it was a month delay between them.
Oh, why?
It's the end of this month.
Well, do you know why?
I think they were trying to do cliffhangers without doing weekly episodes. It's something they started. My wife was saying with Stranger Things.
I don't like it. But anyway, we started The Witchers, so
You know what would be awesome? You hate episodic releases, but I think it would be awesome to spite them in their split season release schedule. Watch things episodically. I think it would be hilarious for you to do that.
No,
do what you hate to spite them.
Can't do it. But yeah, so it was. You know what? I don't think I did anything but work really this week. I played a little bit of Diablo 4.
Okay.
And I had to do a lot of driving this week, which I don't like. And also, I'm going to generalize here because I can, and it's our podcast and I can say whatever I want. People from Alberta suck at driving.
Any Albertan listeners, we love you. But it is a hilarious stereotype that Albertans have. Like, I remember my dad in the 90s when we were driving across the country. Like, we used to live in Ontario, but we'd drive across the country for ministry stuff and all that kind of thing. But anyway, we're driving across the country, and if we're in Saskatchewan, my dad would say a car would fly by, and every time my dad would be like,
Alberta.
And then eventually I'd ask why dad kept getting so mad while we were driving, and it was because dad was just like, Albertans have different speed limits in their heads. And then that like stereotype carried over to when we moved to BC when I was like 10 or whatever it was. And then
every time I'm on the highway.
Every time you're on the highway, it doesn't matter. Highway 3, Highway 5, doesn't matter. Highway 1, you'd see a car go, and you'd look, red license plate.
Red license
Alberta,
plate.
Wild Rose country. But it's a hilarious stereotype.
But it's true. It's a stereotype that's 100% true.
Justin loves you all.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it was
why where'd that come from?
I was just driving a lot this week, and every time I had to deal with somebody that was being a turd on that, which in the last like probably maybe like 7 or 8 years, I've chilled. When I drive, I just go in the right lane. I don't want to deal with the stress. I found it was actually, I would get myself worked up, and if I had to drive somewhere, so I for the most part just chill in the right lane. But there's just something about people when they're driving it's like they want to be an asshole, and I can't understand. Like it always cracks me up when like 20 minutes later you're getting off at the same exit as them and you're in the same spot. You're not, like they didn't get any further ahead in their turdness of driving. But I don't know if it's just that I notice it more, but I'm saying
maybe red just stands out more than blue in those license plates.
I'm like, of course it's you.
It's funny though. Their speed limits typically on the highway were about 10 kilometers an hour faster than ours. And then a while ago, like we're talking years ago now, the Albertan transport minister ended up becoming the BC transport minister. And a lot of our highways went to 110.
Yeah, but then they went back and then they changed. And then what do they call it? There's a term for it. It's like intermittent speed limit or something. I can't remember what it is, but it's like, I don't know what that means.
It's based on the weather, fog, rain, flooding,
height of the sun on the day.
Does anyone have a sundial?
It's so dumb. I wanted to say, did you see the new Sphere in Vegas? Have you seen any of the videos for it? That thing is
out of nowhere. I did. It looks like a alien space bubble.
It's it's crazy. It's one of the craziest things I've seen people in our generation build. Like it's crazy to me. I cannot wait to see how they use it, because I was expecting something.
I was just going to ask what the point is of the Sphere.
Well, so it's going to be used for shows. So it's a 15,000 seat arena. So it'll be used for concerts, shows. I don't know what else, but I just find what they can do with that outside display. I think what in my head, I expected something a little more pixelated, but it looks like
it's from outer space.
Yeah, I saw a video of a person in a plane landing at Vegas with the camera out the window, and it's just a massive eyeball, just like huge eyeball looking around. And I was like,
funny.
I think it'll be cool to see how they use it. I think we were talking about it on Monday or Tuesday when we were racing. Yeah, thanks, Chris, for racing on Tuesday. But like how do they use that in F1? Because F1 races around that. When we go to Vegas in November, that's they do race right around that sphere. I'm really curious I hope they find some way to integrate that sphere into the F1 race. So whether that's showing standings or it's literally like another display. Just imagine all the things Alonso's going to know when he's racing in Vegas, because there are displays right. everywhere.
The eye told me. The eye. That'd be awesome. Set that up as the eye of Sauron for a little bit.
Yeah, it's so cool. Anyway, it didn't. I don't even know where that came from, but it just
doesn't matter. Sometimes, cool. Justin, it just comes.
You know, it's not your fault.
No. Oh man, what's that from Lonely Island? When they had that song "Jizz in My Pants." There's a couple lines. It's really stupid. It's not the kind of song that I would like, but there's a couple lines in there that always make me laugh. It's not my fault you were touching my butt. Just so good. Anyway, that got R-rated quick, but
that's why we're explicitly rated.
Glad you had a good week. It was, I mean, maybe you just didn't decide to say it, but it doesn't sound like you had an insane work week.
It was work.
Otherwise, yeah, good.
Yeah. Yep. Let's do some
PoE.
Yeah, what do we got this week in PoE? Not a ton,
almost
but some stuff.
Nothing, but yeah, and
almost nothing, but some big stuff. Oh, it's coming.
I don't want to be rude. I want to be really understanding.
Then let me do it for you. Go ahead. Okay, work your way through this.
Let me go first then.
Because I'm fired up.
Okay, so Crucible support packs are ending soon. That's what I want to talk about. No, that's the thing. Last day for ExileCon tickets. Cool. I loved actually reading through. I'm not going to ExileCon. And if I was going to ExileCon, I would not dress up. I'm not a cosplay person. I know a lot of people are, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. I don't have the energy or the money or the energy, definitely not the energy to do that. And but it was enjoyable to read through the do's and don'ts of what you're allowed to do with your cosplay and weapons. Half of them, obviously, you have to write down, but it's kind of like for the idiots, you know, like, hey, just a reminder, when you are doing a race event and broadcasting to GGG to view your clip, please don't cheat or have inappropriate names or, you know, like that kind of obvious statement. So some of them.
I don't remember them having this for the last ExileCon, a policy on this.
No,
maybe
but they've probably done more of their. Right. A little bit more disclaimers are legally required. Otherwise, you're slightly responsible. Right. So smart. Good. Glad they did it. But it was fun to read through. The one I want to talk about is the next expansion release date post that Path of Exile did. In short, they said 322 is probably likely, sort of, kind of, maybe, but 80% of the time, every time, going to launch August 18th, our date, Pacific time. That's 3 weeks after ExileCon, right? Because ExileCon finishes the second last day of July, which is just around the river bend. Hey, another just around there. Yeah, today's the 7th. So in 3 weeks after this episode, we have 2 more episodes, and then it's ExileCon.
Yep.
Sploosh. Now, I am super excited for that. But so they're kind of, I don't know, triple, double, quadrupling down on, you know, like there's not going to be any 322 surprises outside of what you learn at ExileCon, but date-wise, 322 is happening, and it's going to be the 18th. We'll confirm, of course, they're going to do the whole 322 presentation at ExileCon as opposed to on their live Twitch thing, which is the expectation. So we're going to learn the rest at ExileCon. But there was more to the post for clarity purposes, and it's good to be good communication. That's something that they're very, very good at for the most part. Except for teases, right? We're still all humming and hawing, like what's going to happen for those 3 weeks after ExileCon. But they said, we're currently all hands on deck working on ExileCon, Path of Exile 2, and the 322 expansion. So we're not able to host any events at this time. That's referring to questions about what do you have available for your customers between now, which to almost everybody is the end of the league. For a lot of people, the end of the league has already been for a while, right? Because we're at the 3-month mark. That really surprised me that they have no events planned for their customers. Like, I thought that this dead space, I'm calling it a 3 or 4 week dead space, because normally when they would have events to kill dead time, it would be around the 2-month mark, right? You have these events for like the 7 or 8 week mark. is kind of when you do your events based on if those events are going to be 2 or 3 weeks long, right? Based on the different types of events you're going to have, because then you're a week away from teasers, right? At the 2 week, when you're 2 weeks away from launch, you're a week away from teasers, or maybe some small teasers, right? Like the tweets. And then stuff starts really coming out. So for minor leagues, they've had content for their customers. Now, let me say, I don't care about any of these events. I never do them. I don't need them. I'm not the kind of player that needs them. I play Path of Exile when I want to. I never burn out of it. I know I'm a rare breed, but I also don't play often enough, maybe to burn out. I don't know, whatever it is. The lack of continuity with characters and events isn't worth my time with the schedule that I have. So I don't need these kind of things. But all right, I'm back from telling my kids to have fun quietly. It's not working yet. They're not quiet. I will be right back. I have returned again.
Welcome
from
back.
Telling my kids to play quietly. This time it'll work though. They didn't realize they were allowed the second time.
Do you remember where you were?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I do. But like the thought's not going away. I could carry the episode with this, but I guess it's a criticism, which I guess I never say because I always say it's not a criticism, but I don't care about the events. But how on earth do you schedule something to be 6 weeks later than usual and not have time or resources allocated for the customers when you normally do it for your normal schedule? That they don't do events every single league, but that because they've done events for such minor delays in the past, because they've done that precedent is kind of set where it's like, it's just so, it didn't even cross my mind that they actually would do nothing until ExileCon. That is dead air. Now, obviously they've crunched their numbers and they think that this is worthwhile, and maybe because it is that extra delay and people are farther away from Path of Exile, you know what I mean? Maybe they're just like, you know what? There's no point bringing people back or trying to get the numbers done. But then it makes me think like they only do those extra events for the numbers, trying to keep people back, buying whatever. You know, it's not for us. It's because this is a really big downtime where people want to be excited. They just want to come back to the game. There's nothing like, you know, people are talking in Discord about, I'd really like to do this and I'd like to do that. Like they're trying to come up with reasons to play instead of going to their backlog of games. And it's because of the hype that's coming for PoE 2. It's only 3 weeks away. All the information we need is 3 weeks away. So it's kind of like, I don't know, people are just trying to glue themselves to the game. They're a little bit hyped, you know, and to see this, we're not going to host any events. That was really, I feel really bad for the fans. It's so surprising to me that nothing would actually be planned and allocated. It makes me feel, now I don't know any better, but it makes me feel like they're scrambling again. Like they're that hard pressed for time with their own schedule that they have no time for us. I don't know if that's fair. I'm trying to be understanding, but that's how, just because of their. You go ahead. I'm starting to repeat myself.
Well, let me just tell you, and this is Tags speaking, so if anyone wants to be angry.
I can't. You are so lucky. I was just about to drink from my coffee, and it's in a nice Yeti travel mug, so it stays hot, and that would have been like a jet stream out my nose. Have you ever had coffee, like really
gross.
cold or really hot liquid come out your nose?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
So I'm going to just, okay, so I saw this post the day that they released it and was instantly turned off when I first read it for a number of reasons.
Way to describe it.
So here's my first one, and I am going to kind of bounce around a little bit because for me there's multiple pieces to this. So
because this is what grinds Tags.
This grinds my gears. For this does. I don't like the fact that if you go back, and I do understand, I'm going to repeat myself a little bit. Chris makes a comment, you got to head out of New Zealand as soon as ExileCon's done. We make jokes and talk about Path of Exile 2's coming. Obviously, there was some, you know, we were kidding around a little bit, but it would have been fun. But then the obvious thought was, well, it's because of 322. Even though personally, I don't agree with the idea of rushing back for a league release. I get it. People get excited for it. Then they double down on that, triple down on that. In fact, in emails to people who are going to ExileCon mentioning again, you need to head home, blah, blah, blah. Then they come out with a post and say, Beck said a little bit ago, a few weeks. And we're going, so what does that mean? Are we talking 2-3 weeks? Then they release this and they say August 18th. And I'm like, that is actually, and that's not even a for sure. So it could potentially be further away, which would be awful. Like
Another
absolutely
month.
awful if it's longer than 3 weeks after ExileCon. That is like, okay, so I'm just going to run through this. I'm going to keep going. The 18th is a terrible release date. It's awful to have it that far after ExileCon. I don't understand. And so then I'm going, did Chris think that 322's expected release was going to coincide with the end of ExileCon? Was that the initial plan and something's gone wrong and that's why they've had to extend it now further? That's why he said what he said. But I still don't understand why they double and triple down on emails to ExileCon people all the way up until like a week ago, just over a week and a half ago, still saying the same messaging of, you know, you should head home. Now I'm going, well, you're releasing it on the 18th. So that's not a rush. Jesus, I don't care where you live in the world. Nowhere takes you 3 weeks to get home from New Zealand. So I did see people posting, because I looked in Reddit out of curiosity, and you can have an attitude about the idea, you know, like that if you're going to ExileCon, you're hardcore, you're blah, blah, blah. I went to ExileCon. I'm not hardcore. I went with my son. He's not hardcore. It was just a fun thing to do. But also, if people are spending money to go somewhere, I don't like the idea of somebody else impacting that trip, especially when it's to another country to see other things that are cool. If you take Path of Exile out of it, New Zealand's such a cool country. And I think it's unfortunate that people felt this pressure to come back. And now you're wondering what was the reason if I adjusted my schedule. And again, I understand that there's some people going like, well, whatever, you're going to ExileCon, you're going to get the blah, blah, blah. It still is that there's the ability for somebody else to now have an impact on your trip. And you could have altered it because you had this feeling of coming back on time. And I feel like there's got to be some disappointment to that for a person who did plan for that, who thought I need to be back in time.
We have someone, I'm not going to specifically shout them out just because of, you know, the finances and schedules and work and that kind of thing. But we have someone on Discord that said that they're doing this exact thing. They didn't have the opportunity to arrive earlier to do anything. They only have time after the convention just based on their personal schedule with work. And they, because of the post, are not going to experience New Zealand. They're only able to come for the convention and then they're going home early. So they are very nervous about and they said we weren't helping at all because we've been so negative about it, but that they're very nervous about what this surprise is going to be.
And I want to just, let me just say, ExileCon, for people who are going to ExileCon, is going to be amazing. It does not matter what's announced. It's just a really cool environment. Like, I'm not taking anything away from ExileCon itself. I think ExileCon is going to be amazing. I loved it. My son loved it. I would have loved to have gone to, like, it's just a cool environment. It's a really, really fun environment. I think regardless of what they announced, nothing comes close to the last ExileCon because they announced a whole new game. So I wouldn't be going expecting some incredible announcement that's just going to blow your mind, but just go and enjoy the environment and the people that you're around. And it is really cool. I like that part is amazing. And say hi to Camille when you're there. But my frustration is on the other end of it. Like, so we've got an 18th release. That's 3 weeks after ExileCon. They're telling us straight up they have no plans for anything, and not even anything leading up to ExileCon, anything leading up to 322. So you're going to have your big ExileCon and then just have fuck all for 3 weeks? Like, that can't be. There has to be something we're missing. There just has to be.
Well, I mean, it's whatever the surprise is for people to rush home, whether it's like
I don't think there's a
key
surprise
for members or anything. Well, there's a reason that they're telling ExileCon what are they called? People going to attendees to rush home. There's a reason for it.
I don't think so. I think that was a mistake on Chris's part. My feeling is there was an expectation that 322 was going to release very close to after ExileCon, and that was the reason for you want to get back. While I disagree with that, and I don't think it's a good enough reason to tell somebody to, rush home from New Zealand, my feeling is that was what the thought was that there was going to be a much closer date from ExileCon to 322, because there is nothing in my head besides some problems on their end figuring out that makes sense to have a huge event with ExileCon and then wait 3 weeks for your next league. Nothing makes that make sense.
Sure, we can't think of anything, but I don't think GGG would be doubling down on their emails to people that are actually going if 322 was the reason and now it's postponed. They wouldn't still be telling people to leave early or right after the convention. So even though we can't think of what's going to be epic for attendees to return early before the league launch, 3 weeks before league launch, I don't think it's related to the league.
I hope that in their inability to run events because they're so busy, the reason they're so busy is because they're trying to figure out what to do for those people going to ExileCon that they need to rush home for. Because I don't think there was something that was outside of the scope of 322 being released closer to the date. And I will be shocked, and I will admit that I was wrong 100% if something comes up that shows why that was, because I felt like the idea of the 322 release being close to ExileCon lined up with Chris saying you want to head home, as soon as you can, and blah, blah, blah. And people thought that's going to be the release of the new league. And I don't know. This post turned me off. Oh, fuck, that hurt. This post just turned me off. I was like, it might be the 18th. Good Lord, guys, you've had so much time. We've been sitting around and we're already at 3 months. Like, it's a long time. And you think that it's going to be in 6 weeks? Like, I don't almost 7 weeks. I don't understand. How could you still not be sure of when the next league launch is going to be? We are really far out still. And that just surprises me a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. I thought it was a little crazy, and I get they're all hands on deck with ExileCon, Path of Exile 2, 322, but
resource allocation.
Well, that's not our fault. Like, that's like
right.
I get, maybe it isn't important, and maybe the whole focus for them is they realize that not many people play it, but it does get people talking about it. And I would have thought you would have wanted some hype leading up to ExileCon.
Honestly, to me, it's not even about marketing. You do these events for your customers. You do them for your fans. It has nothing to do, like, even I enjoy being a part of the community where I'm like, oh wow, they're cool, they're doing some events, and you and I talk about it. We never do the events. It's just the kindness, the thoughtfulness. I'm thinking of you, fans. We're doing this for you, not for us.
Yeah, and if
we just want you to enjoy our game because we know you like our game. So not from a selfish perspective, but we know you want to play our game. Here's something new. That's what I've always assumed, and maybe it still is, what the other events are for. Sure, it does bring people back. Maybe they get some revenue, but it's mostly just for us, as far as I understand it. It's so weird to not do something like this. It's like the longest delay that they've ever had since they started doing this 3-month league system.
Yep.
And I think that delay now is that 3-week delay. I think it's a closed beta. It's a timestamp 3-week closed beta. It's going to start the next day, right after ExileCon. It's going to go right up until the launch of August 18th. Pardon me. Yeah, for PoE 2, it'll be a closed beta. That's my guess. And the reason that attendees,
to people that went, okay,
to ExileCon, and so you'll still have a couple thousand people doing the closed beta, which is a fantastic number. It's a great way to filter through it all. And then the August 18th date is up in the air, depending on how long or whatever detail they want for that closed beta duration. Start date, end date. That's what I think that's revolving around.
Okay, so I think that's a really cool idea, except the only thing is you need to still fill that space for the millions of people who are not going to be at ExileCon to still build up hype for something. So I think that would be a really cool thing for the people who went to ExileCon. Yep. Like, hey, you're going to get this 3-week closed beta, and it's not going to release. We're not going to release 322 till the 18th. But then there needs to be something that people who have just tuned in to the last 2 days of your event online have something hyping them up to do as well. I don't know what that would be, but yeah,
even
I think
if it's just events again, even if it's just events, because right now people want to play because they're hyped about ExileCon too, not because they're hyped about ExileCon, or not because of, people want to play because they're excited about Path of Exile 2. They're not excited about Path of Exile 1. It's the same game, but they're playing Path of Exile 1 thinking of Path of Exile 2, and that's just how hype works. Companies always see influx of numbers just before a release comes out on their old game, type of thing. But just the fact that they don't have events now or leading up to ExileCon, like, to me, it's the same circumstance. To have events after ExileCon that aren't to closed beta, like just normal Path of Exile 1 events leading up to 322 is the same thing as the dead time now leading up to ExileCon. Like, to me, there's no difference. You're just doing it for your fans. You're doing it so they can play your game because they feel hype. I don't know. To me, it's a miss. To me,
there is a huge difference between the time from ExileCon to 322 and the 3 weeks leading up till ExileCon. That time after ExileCon, you will be at your biggest, hypest point ever. And if the idea is to the millions of people who were not able to go to ExileCon but love your game, hey, just wait till the 18th to play 322. I will be absolutely floored if that's actually their thing. They're like, hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the 18th of 322. And Path of Exile 2's release date is, you've been told, but you will have taken, you have to have some plan for this biggest, hypest moment of your company leading up to Path of Exile 2. This will be it. ExileCon is going to be the biggest hype that they have had ever. And there has to be something, because you're not releasing PoE 2, unless they're completely they're not, unless they've just been a full online and whatever, which this is not a very good lie if it's true. They're not releasing PoE 2. We're just going to find the release date. So it is going to be 322 on the 18th. Something has to exist in that space, or it will be, it can't. I just can't. I know, but that's what I thought about this. Yeah.
It didn't even cross my mind that there would actually just be permanent dead space till ExileCon. I never would have dreamed that. Never would have thought that. Thought would have never crossed my mind. And so, up until that post that we're talking about,
which is so after ExileCon,
I normally would have been like, yeah, of course they're going to do an event.
Yeah. Well, we thought for sure. We expected it for sure.
Now I'm like, well, I don't know what are they going to do anything? Are they just going to be too busy? Are they just going to be like, what?
You can't end ExileCon and be like, we'll see you in 3 weeks. It just doesn't make any sense.
I don't. Okay. Benefit of the doubt. Totally not going to happen.
No,
they're not going to do that. They're letting the dead time be the dead time. Let people play whatever video games and shows that they want to binge and watch. No problem. Have a good life. You don't need PoE to live.
Don't do that after ExileCon.
And then legit starts at ExileCon. And it'll be the best 3 weeks that we've all experienced. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
I get why. All this is seriously just about these dead times though. We're both still insanely
I'm pumped for PoE 2 and ExileCon. Both of them.
When you signed on to start recording the podcast, I'm like, hey, I just need 30 more seconds. Yeah. I was watching the playthrough video for the 15-minute thing for Path of Exile 2, the first one that they did, where they're talking about gems.
Where Jonathan was playing or whatever.
Socket. Yeah, Jonathan was playing. Chris was talking. They were showing some new boss stuff. They were doing talking about the gems and meta gems and sockets, and so I reconfirmed a lot. I saw them moving. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw them using movement skills.
We're not talking about anything else, really. So. I don't know what your notes were, but
no. But they started there was a movement skills in there. I saw dash in there a lot, and we were talking after the trailers. It's been so long since we've actually looked through those trailers that we probably should have been watching them relatively recently, because our comments after the last two teasers they put out from Summer Game Fest and then the 1 week after, and they didn't put out another teaser this week. Come on.
But I mean, things could have changed though from at the time of ExileCon to now. So I'm fine with not having rewatched those, because we're through 3 weeks away from getting all of the information.
And that was 2 or 3 years ago. 3 years ago.
Yeah, could have. Yeah, that's crazy.
Or 4. Was it 2019?
It's 4. It's 20. No, it couldn't have been.
Oh man. Hang on.
And I know Tyler was just saying it too. And again, I want to just reemphasize, we are both extremely excited for both ExileCon and PoE 2. I think ExileCon is going to be such a blast. It's going to be so fun to watch. What we're talking about is literally the 3 weeks before and the 3 weeks after. That's where we're both struggling with understanding the why. What?
Agreed. It's been 4 years. 2019 was when you went to ExileCon with your son.
Yeah, November 2019. So 3.5 years. That's crazy. I'm really pumped to watch ExileCon, to see the content. I'm not excited for 322 at all. Couldn't care less. I want to see ExileCon. I want to know the dates for PoE 2. That's where my excitement sits. But it's weird to not feel Like that's my focus right now. Like I am really, my head is actually more wrapped around like this lead up to and this lead up between the two events. What I don't get it. I really don't get it. And for me personally, I am still struggling with Chris's comment, and I want to see some validation to that comment. I want to see where a person that did decide to go to ExileCon and spend the money feels good about their choice to come home early or shift around their stuff.
I think we'll be pleasantly surprised. Unlike these
Unlike
next
me.
few weeks. But yeah, so I was watching the PoE 2 trailer, the first one, and there's movement skills, there's new voice acting all across the board, even for the character that's being used, which looks like a raider, but don't know the meta gems. But there was a comment in there that I've been talking about like having 24 6 links and stuff like that over the last year with, it's 8 6 links. It looks like weapons, like two-hand weapons have 4 sockets and two-hand weapons have 2 sockets. So you're right, you're going to have 4 sockets in your weapons in total, whatever it is you choose. There's 2 sockets in your chest, and then there's 1 socket in your helmet. Gloves.
When you're saying 2 sockets in your chest, you mean 2 that can be 6 linked, or
yeah? So every socket is something you can put a gem into, and every gem can be 6 linked. So there's 4 sockets. So there's 4 sockets in your weapons, 2 in your chest, and then you have helmet, gloves, and boots. So I guess it's 9.
Weird.
Or maybe the chest was only 1. I think he said something about like 8 6 links or something like that. But then I remember a comment when they were on a panel later, or maybe it was actually from the live presentation they did. But if you have an unset ring, it does add you another option for another 6 link, which is cool. But yeah, it was 8. It was 8 links, not. 24.
And when you take out the socketed skill from, let's say, your chest, do all of the 6 linked support
gems
stay inside of that skill gem?
Yeah.
Weird.
So it's basically like you don't socket it in your gear anymore. There's just a screen that you do all your socketing into. It's not technically your gear. And the screen, the original sockets that you can put all your active gems into, the starting color of those sockets is determined by your gear.
So does it work for items though, where the two-handed weapon gives you a skill and you fill up that with a bunch of supports to support the skill? Or was it Zealot's Oath, where I put supports into the chest to support the aura? Like, how I'm curious how that's going to work.
We'll have to find out how it works with stuff like that. They were talking about meta gems as well, right? Where it's like at letting you. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't know how it'll work in those specific circumstances, but it was pretty neat to watch again, right? They're like, they have all bows, for example, he said drop with 4 green sockets. And so if you kept that the same, no matter which bow that drops, you can just swap it in and out, and your gems never become unsocketed, and you can see a live up-to-date tool tip with your damage.
Weird.
So it's interesting. It'll be really cool. I'm obviously very excited to see how minion zombie playstyles have been improved. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
It'll be cool to see how it's changed in the 4 years too, from what they showed at ExileCon 1 to
that is something
what's
I'm
changed
very interested in. Very good point. Very good point. Sorry, I talked over you the whole time.
No, that's fine.
I'm very excited to see that progress as well. And maybe even, I hope they're not shy or haven't made decisions being like, well, we said this at ExileCon, so it has to stay. There's something from ExileCon that they wanted to change. I really hope they did.
I do too.
And I also just make the game you want. Let us whine and complain about, but this is different. But this is different. My build's not going to work anymore. Like when I was watching the video, I'm like, this is just going to be Path of Exile 1 with some amazing upgrades. It's not like a revamped game. You know what I mean? It's like all the enemies are unique and different and individually rendered, and the sound is different. The grass is different. The skills are different, but like the same, they're still running precision. You know what I mean? They're still running clarity. Like you still need your accuracy. You still need your crazy amounts of mana. You're just in a better game. So I am excited to see that. And I really hope that they completely ignore everything, and when they're in their meetings they're just like, no, this is what we're going to do, this is going to be the best, and they just ignore us for like a year. Not events, just comments.
I'm fine with PoE 2 taking as long as it needs them to take. I just would like a little bit of clarity, that's all. Like, I really would not want to see them rush it to try and meet some weird deadline that's been set in their head or whatever that they've, we've set. I just don't let Chris talk unless he's saying something that's a for sure. Like, okay. I just don't want to hear something that's maybe later on going to have to be taken back, or it was out of context or whatever. So, but I am really, really excited for ExileCon. I feel like I do have 2 more weeks to bitch and moan about some of the dumb stuff that I feel like they're saying and doing, and I'm going to, but I am super pumped for that event. I think it's going to be so much fun to watch. I've been scheduling my own vacation time around it to make sure that we can record for it. Yeah, Christina's sorting it all out, so I don't know exactly, but she knows.
Yeah, I like that you said I've been sorting my vacation
in the way of telling my wife.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, so did you? I didn't know she's dealing with it.
She just knows I got to be back. I can't be on these 2 days. So that's as far as I've gone to make sure. But I am excited for it. I'm really pumped for it. And now that I know that there's no PoE 2 happening right after, that's actually kind of nice too, because I can not feel like I have to be freed up for all of August, which is great. And again, I'm just not a 322. Leagues are exciting, but they don't, like, at this point right now where we're at in the lifespan of Path of Exile, I don't care about a new league. I care about Path of Exile 2. Yeah, like ExileCon and Path of Exile 2 are my 2 things I'm looking forward to. So 322 is going to be whatever. I still am convinced there's nothing they could ever come out league related that would blow my mind. So I actually like your idea that this, maybe there's some closed beta for people who came to ExileCon for that, but I just don't, there just has to still be something else for everybody else. So I love that for them. I think that'd be a really cool idea. Yeah. But there's got to be some lead up to the 18th.
Right. No, I agree. Now, last question. I moved our other stuff to next week, but not last question here. How do I word this?
Coming.
Do you, 2 questions, but it's all related. I'm hoping the reason that 322 there's a lot of leniency with its release date is they're revolving 322's release around its end date, which to me, 322 is my guess is 322 is the last Path of Exile 1 league. So there's going to be lots of gray area. Like, basically they're picking Path of Exile 2's launch day
and working backwards.
And then working backwards. Okay, so now we think it's going to be 318. And I got one of those
November, December
unrealistic feelings that 322 is the last Path of Exile 1 league, and then Path of Exile 2 comes out after that. And so that, if like the closed beta was what people were rushing home for after ExileCon, that makes sense. Beta means you're close. You're basically looking for crash bugs or some like design flaw that you really screwed up. They're not looking for suggestions, but they'll look at them just in case there's something they screwed up. Otherwise, you're basically looking for crash bugs. That's basically what beta is. And then, well, when I was in the industry, who knows what they do with it. Beta used to be their alpha, so I'm glad they're not there anymore. So that's what I think it is. And so 322 will be coming out just before, whether it's the American Thanksgiving or the Christmas break, whatever it is. That's my Path of Exile 2. That's what I'm hoping for. Would you be disappointed if, like, I hear what you're saying about I want them to take as long as you want, as long as they need to make sure it's good. But to me, if it was coming out in 2024, I'd be like, it's been a long time. You take COVID out of that, that is still a very, very long time. And now, granted, COVID, like, we're talking a 4-year difference, and COVID was about 2.5 years. So if you were to remove that, and I know it doesn't work like that, but if you were to remove it, it's a 1.5 years. That's just still such a long time. Like, I'm the kind of player where I'm still just in love with the prospect that Bethesda announces Fallout 4 and it's coming out 6 weeks after, or 6 months after it comes out. And so I know you can't change the past, can't do anything, but if Path of Exile 2's release date at ExileCon is sometime in 2024, would that be disheartening to you? Would that be understandable to you? Where would you fall in line with January or March or June release date?
So I guess my curiosity towards it is I like what you're saying. I think that kind of does make sense, except that then there's no time for an open beta unless they're running an open beta concurrent with 322 leading up to a release in November, December for Path of Exile 2. I would be disappointed, I think, to hear that it's coming out in 2024, but I also wouldn't want it to come out and just shit the bed. So it's for me, it's a little bit tough because I would be disheartened. I would be a little bit sad that we got to wait till sometime in 2024 to do it. Also, if that's the case, why on earth did you do an ExileCon like now? Like, why not have pushed the ExileCon till for like,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, so this lineup works for either Path of Exile 2 coming out right away, which it's not, we already know that, or them lining it up with November, December, we already know is one of their biggest. That's when people are time off, they spend money, it's Christmas, blah blah blah. So it would make sense to try and launch PoE 2 around that same time. I think that I'm just going to hold on to that one, because I think if you push it into 2024, when's a better
to
release?
Be January, otherwise you should have postponed ExileCon.
Right, and January release doesn't work unless they're making 322 long again. So I don't know. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I think the biggest disappointment for me, if it was into 2024, is that ExileCon was poorly planned, and either something came up, which I don't think. I feel like they probably have an idea in their head already of the PO. Like they know. I feel like they know PoE 2's release date, and yes, ExileCon definitely makes sense for it. So it would be surprising to me to be like, in 6 months, like, at ExileCon, you got everybody hyped up. And we just talked about that was 4 years ago. Like, all right. Come on.
Well, Chris also said in one of, I forget if it was last league before, whatever it was, he's like, we know exactly how many leagues there are until Path of Exile 2. So I don't think like this is all poorly planned, but
which is why it doesn't make sense for it to be into 24. It just would be crazy.
I would agree. And I think also to support the theory of it being a closed beta for the ExileCon attendees upon their return.
Why not just make it an open beta actually in that 3 weeks? Why not open the game up, open PoE 2 up to everybody in that 3 weeks leading up to 322? This is our run up. Path of Exile 2 is coming out in November, December. We're going to run this 3 week period is going to be our open beta PoE 2. Play it, test it, do what you want. Because I think a closed beta is actually a little bit like they used the open beta for a long time in PoE 1 when it first came out, right? Like it was only closed for a small amount of time. I played it during that time. They left it in an open beta for actually quite a while after that. You get way more testing, way more people into the system when they're doing an open beta.
It's probably way more expensive, but yeah.
Probably. It might be a little tough to say you got 3 weeks to just go ham on PoE 2 and then, hey, here's 322. But that to me would support a better release of PoE 2 in November, December, because I think a closed beta of 1,000 people is not going to give you enough of a result and testing information to still be able to go live in whatever it is. The only reason that doesn't totally match up though is they're trying to make it a big deal that if you go to the Gamescom thing, you'll get to play PoE 2. And if there's already an open beta for PoE 2,
then it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then the closed beta does make sense with Chris caring if people get home early. You don't want people that are spending all that money going to ExileCon feel like they're missing out. Like if it's open beta, then but then GGG gets all the stats they need. They get more people than they need.
No, but it makes sense. It still makes sense because he's saying to them, "Hey, you really are going to want to go home because you're going to want to play it." I could see it being that, and that makes sense to me for a faster release. Like before, I don't see how they get it tested well enough with only a closed beta of people that go to ExileCon versus just opening the beta up, or maybe some sort of registration or something to a certain amount. I don't know.
Well, see, to me, the closed beta makes sense because Chris is saying we want the best amount of people to play this game, but we're in the closed beta stage and we're offering the closed beta to our attendees. And so we want you home so that we can get the most testing done in our closed beta. And then I think the open beta comes later.
Whoa, yeah, but when? Like you're that's such a short period of time to run an open beta.
For 322 at the end of 322. Maybe 322 will be a 4-month league because they're going to do an open beta at the end. To me, you don't want, just for the sake of hype, you want there to be a gap between open beta and your actual launch.
Well, that's what I'm saying. even if you don't run the open beta for the whole 3 weeks up to 322, maybe it's a 1 week open beta or a 4-day open beta or something. Maybe the closed beta is open for the first week to the people who went. And then the week before or the week in the middle, somewhere they're going to do an open beta to everybody else. And then it's gone until the release in November. So you got 322. I mean, it does actually work for me to keep people hyped up for 322 if they've been playing the new beta for Path of Exile 2 and they're excited. And so now I'm going to just fill my time with 322 until I know PoE 2 is coming out in November. I don't know.
You know what I can't wait for? Whenever there is a closed or open beta, if there is one, I assume there is one, but who cares? I can't wait for people to complain about GGG voiding those characters. Oh,
it's like the Diablo people not realizing how seasons work.
Right, you void my character. Oh man, I can't wait. Yeah. No, it's good. I am really excited. Just a lot of surprises this week. And none of them factual, just surprises based on assumptions.
We're right about everything we've said.
Unintentional.
Assume we're correct.
Unintentional expectations, but nonetheless, interesting week. And next week, I actually have lots of stuff that
unless they come out with stuff.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm excited about what we're going to talk about next week. I'm assuming that's though if GGG comes out with nothing to talk about.
Maybe it'll be an After Dark thing then. Just never know. Maybe I'll look at your notes and just start bringing them up in After Dark.
You do that sometimes. And you're like,
I've never opened up our notes.
It's going to spoil it. So our poor patrons hear some subjects like 3 times.
No, I'll delete it. As soon as I talk about it, I'll delete it. So you'll never remember.
Right. Hey, but I can't complain about that because I think I've been talking about zombies for 196 episodes straight. So.
You did mention it this episode. So nice job
zombies?
getting it in there.
Oh, yep. Right. Yeah. Oh, filters. Okay. Let me put this out. I was rewatching the 15-minute
get filters in.
They're using the original filter.
Yes.
I know, right? Can't wait.
Kept it.
So anyway, I'm going to watch the second trailer. Should I do it for After Dark or should I do it for next week?
Yeah, do it for After Dark. All right, sweet. Let's wrap this up. Forever Exiled. I'm Justin, aka Tags.
Tyler, Wrecker of Days. That's me, Wrecker of Days.
Thanks everybody for joining us for episode 196 Patrons. We'll catch you in After Dark. Everybody else, we'll see you next week in 197. If you're looking for more information, you can find it down below. We got a website, foreverexiled.com. We're on Twitter, foreverexiled82. We're not on Threads or whatever Facebook's new thing is, and we're not going to be because I don't want to. Discord. We have a Discord. You should be on it. It's awesome. Super fun. And Patreon are the way to support the podcast. You'll find them down below and on our website. Threads is Facebook. Meta's
is it trying to be Reddit?
No, Twitter. They're trying to replace Twitter, and I don't want to. So if it becomes popular, then probably not still, but
just search for us on those podcast apps.
Look for our blog and our MySpace.
Look for our MySpace. That's right. And if you ever want to get a hold of us, we have ICQ.
The best. And we're on MSN. All right. Thanks. What was it? AOL or something. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you later. Bye.
Oh man, I want to go through. There's another one we're missing.